Well, hello everybody. How you doing? Dave Fennoy here. It's Wednesday, and that means, of course, another Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. Just want to say hi to everybody. Hope everybody's enjoying their summer and the heat. Cooling off a little bit in Los Angeles now. I know weather around the country is crazy, and I hope it's not messing up your work, your auditions, and power going out, and air conditioning going off and driving you nuts in your home studios. Anyway, in case you haven't noticed, wait, it's the other side. I have a new Dave Fennoy banner. I'm going to be going to that's voiceover to VO. Wrong thing. Dragon Con. It's not a voiceover thing. It's a pop culture thing. Going to Dragon Con, meet fans, sign autographs, take pictures, and hear people say nice things about me for money. Next week in Atlanta, I know it's going to be hot there. Might be raining too, and who knows what the wind's going to do. I've seen so much crazy weather around the country. There was instead of tumbleweeds, I saw some footage of mattresses flying. It's like a mattress stampede. It was crazy. Anyway, enough of that mess, but I just got this today. My new banner with, well, certainly not all of the characters I've played, but a lot of the better-known characters I've played. And this one's kind of cool. If you're somebody who does video games or anime, cartoons, and you're going to conventions, what's different about this is that it is cloth. Instead of having to roll it up and carry this extra thing, this thing folds up quite nicely, and just fold it up, and I can tack it up. Or they've sent me some Velcro that I can stick on the back, and I'll take some more with me, and I think that's how I'll do it. But for those of you who are doing that kind of thing, you might want to think about the cloth banners. They weigh next to nothing, look great, and they're not that expensive. Well, let me say hello to some people. Jessica, how you doing? Jessica Voice, Aaron, Eric Glover, Ellen Dubbin. I love you, girl. Randy Morrison, my buddy. Heather Halley, how you doing? Adilla, Oliver, and Dave Smith, Jerry. I'm sure a few more people will be joining us. Don't forget, this is Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. Much as I love you to be there, I know you got something on your mind. Maybe you were thinking of it earlier today and you forgot. Or maybe you feel, I don't know, I don't want people to know I don't know that, or that's a question of mine. Go ahead and ask. We all have questions. Believe me, I ask people questions too. A couple announcements in a couple of weeks. I think on the 4th, tentatively planned. I'm going to have Jill Kershaw on as a guest to answer some questions. Jill runs one of the biggest casting houses in Los Angeles. She casts hundreds of commercials, and she is right on the cutting edge of what the buyer for our talent is looking for today. So she's going to share some things with us, like she shared some things with me a couple of weeks ago about the mistakes we voiceover people make when we're doing our demos. Oh, yeah, Mary Claypool has a question. Where did I put my glasses? They're probably right on the top of your head. That used to be where I'd find mine. Well, my sunglasses anyway. So that's coming up, and we'll have a few more guests from time to time. We won't always do it, but we will have some guests. Andre Sosa, how you doing, man? Ashley Smart, Rick Sellers. Couple things I want to start with while you get your questions together. One is demos. I help people with demos right now only for video games. I don't advertise it. I'm not trying to be in the demo business, but I do them with people I've been working with for a while. There's some very good people out there, but I think I'm good too, and especially in that area. And I had one of my clients ask me the other day, well, what makes a good demo? How do I know what I should put on my demo that's going to work? And you want to do a couple of different things. One, you want to do things that are in your wheelhouse. It's one thing to send in an audition for something that you don't feel quite that good about, or you don't feel strongly that this was your strong area, but let me try this anyway. Lord knows I have sent him some auditions that I thought, this isn't really me. This isn't really the kind of stuff that I do. I'm usually not the wacky guy, and booked it. So don't be afraid to send in auditions that you think are, not quite you, or something you haven't quite done. But you don't want to do that on your demo. On your demo, you want to put on things that you feel very strongly about that you can do. And you want that demo to star your voice. You are the star of that demo. I know you've heard me say this before, but I can't tell you how many demos I have heard that the person is trying to show off too many things, especially when they're not that good at all of those things. Demos that start with a bad accent and then lead into another bad accent, which leads into a creature voice, which leads into something else that's not their voice. And by the end of the thing, you're not sure who they are. And just like all your favorite character actors, as soon as you see them, as soon as you hear them, you know who they are. Your demo wants to set you up to be recognized. So, yeah, you can do some accents. Yeah, you can do some, really character-y things, voices that are not quite your voice. But your voice needs to be what they hear first, what you need to continue to come back to, and what you need to end with. Now, outside of that, I think demos are moving further away from being overproduced, too much compression, too much manipulation of what your voice sounds like, too much music, too loud, too many effects, too loud that overpower you. And it will give someone the feeling of video game, but more and more, because more and more of us are doing video game acting, more and more casting directors, casting agents don't want to be fooled by a shiny, spiffy, very produced demo, and then the actor can't complete it. They want to hear your acting. They want to hear, can you bring this character to life? Do they believe the performances? So I wouldn't say don't put sound effects and whatnot on, but don't let it overpower you. Don't let the compression make your voice something that it's not. And I would still say on that video game demo, you want to put on some things that are expected. Probably an AI voice is going to be expected. You might have a creature voice that's expected. Good guys, bad guys. But also think nowadays we have games that, much like movies, we're looking at characters who are everyday characters put in extraordinary circumstances. So you want to be able to play the doctor, the teacher, the judge, the policeman, the normal person in an amazing world, having to do maybe amazing things, along with the witches and the wizards and the kings and the knights and the soldiers. So you want a nice mix of that. And I like each of the sections to be its own little story. Now, that can be difficult because sometimes you might want to carry on too long, and you don't want your demo to be any more than a minute 30. You can get away with a little longer demos with video games. You might go out to 2 minutes, especially if it's really, really good. If they know what you like, they know what they like and they like what you're doing, they may listen longer. As with any demo, put your best stuff up front. Front loaded, because nobody's got time anymore. My attention span is gone. So I listened to 5 seconds of that. Oh, that's good. I think I got enough. Even if it's good sometimes, maybe that first thing is, that's kind of what I'm looking for. Yeah, cut him off. I love this guy. Let's get him in here. So hope that helps. And if you have other questions as we go along here, feel free to ask. I think we have some questions now. Hey, Ellen, how you doing? I appreciate that you appreciate it. Thank you so much. Logan, and one of the things I like about this are the number of, working professionals that tune in and check out. And Ellen, if somebody asks a question, or any other people that I've been working with over the years, and you have a better answer, or an answer that I don't have, or thoughts on something, feel free to, write that in there. Anyway, Logan Christian Landerberg, is it possible to get a manager in America before you move there? Probably. It's much easier now to work long distance than it once was. The old thing, out of sight, out of mind. But since we have the internet now, it's very easy to work from one place to another, any place on the planet. And actually, I think there's some wisdom to getting representation before you get here, which means, once you arrive, you're not trying to spend time finding that person now. You have that person, and you can hit the ground running with auditions and ideas about what to do and where to go. So, Logan, I actually think that's a good idea. If you're going to be moving here from another country, where are you from, by the way? Just jot that down there someplace. Would love to know where you're from. Get that manager, if you can, early. Are you talking with somebody? Brandon Parks, what's your take on people who do voiceover for comic dubs on YouTube? If that's what they want to do, that's fine. Are they getting paid for it? They're just doing it out of love, out of enjoyment. I don't really have an opinion on it. It's fine, it's not fine, I don't care. What I'm concerned with is the person who wants to do this as a profession, who wants to get paid for it, who wants to make it a living, who wants to leave that job that they've had that they don't like and do that thing that they have always dreamed about. That's who I'm concerned with. If you're doing it for fun, hey, great. I don't care one way or the other. If you're enjoying it, fine. But the advice I'm giving, who I'm caring about, are people who want to do this for a living. Hey, Maurice, how you doing, man? Andres Sosa, have an issue with a producer. They say I got noise floor in my booth and in my recordings. They are an audiobook producing house. Do you know someone to analyze my recordings? Absolutely, George Whittam. And fortunately, just like you can get a manager long distance, you can have George listen to your room long distance. Do some recordings in your booth, some with your voice, some just the room itself, recording with just the room, and send those to him. Now, of course, you're going to need to get in touch with George Whittam. He's on Facebook. He's easy to find, and he can help you with that. One of the things he does in helping people put their studios together is make sure that the sound of the room is right. Sometimes you can have a booth and, it's quiet and the sound's not bouncing around, but it's pushing bass or pushing your highs, and you need to adjust it with some kind of foam, some kind of baffle to get the right sound for your room. He can help you with that. Jeff Burns, I've auditioned for 7 video games in the past 2 months. It's interesting to see how the performances are evolving and what clients and casting are looking for. And it's ever evolving like everything else. There was a time when the worst acting in the world was on video games. Well, that's not the case anymore. Went to a studio today. I was working on a very big game that I'm very proud of, that I'm not going to mention the name of it right now. And in walks Jeff Goldblum to go do some work on a game there. Don't know what game it was. Didn't really get a chance to say anything but hello. But they are pulling in major talent, major well-known talent, celebrity A-list talent to do video games. Fortunately, a lot of us who have been doing them for a long time are every bit as good an actor in the genre as they are. As a matter of fact, often directors and producers are really disappointed in what they get out of a lot of celebrities because they don't know the genre, and they're used to being in costume, having another actor to work off of, having memorized their lines. Just the physicality of seeing and reading those words can pull some people out of their performance. You really have to, it's a really special skill to do voiceover work where you're actually seeing the words, but you're saying them in such a way that it just sounds like you're talking to somebody. Pamela, how you doing? John Groves, what's going on? One of the best ever did and got away with it. My buddy Robbie Wrist. Love you, man. Logan. Okay, Christina. I'm working with Everett Oliver to record for a new demo. How much would you recommend to spend on producing a demo? You know, I got an interesting question in the mail. I think it was in the mail. Might have been a text. Who knows? There's so many ways to reach people these days. And they were asking, should I spend the $2,500 that some people would charge? Robin Armstrong, I see you there. The $2,500 that some people would charge, or the $1,500, should I try to do it myself? Well, first of all, don't try to do it yourself. And just because you're spending $2,500 doesn't mean that you're going to get a great demo. There are some very good people out there that do demos all the time that I would have no hesitation in recommending, with the caveat that you want to be in charge of your demo. You know what it is that you want this demo to do. You should know what your voice is, the market you're going after, the people that you would be talking to. So don't let somebody just come in. Oh, here's the copy. Do the thing. And great. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Next take. Oh, yeah. No, just one take. That's fine. Don't let anybody do that to you. It's your demo. So be in charge of that. That said, somebody that maybe does demos well, but hasn't been doing them that long, that might be charging less to attract some business, that might work for you. But definitely listen to some demos that person has done. Speaking of good demos, Robin Armstrong is right there. If you want a commercial demo, he's a very good person to go to. You can find him on Facebook. And he's also one of the better teachers in Los Angeles. Mike Barker, how you doing? Jeff Burns, Drita, I know. When I was going to go to Columbia, I was talking with Drita about Dumont about translating all my material into Spanish, but someone from the conference offered to do it for free, so I, of course, took that deal. But Drita, it was great. Gary, how you doing? Brent, Storm Waters, Bianca Skinner, made it for the night. There you did. Durkee. Speaking of great voices, David Washington, Linda, AJ Hamilton. Okay, looking for questions. Marion M. Toro, George Whittam is amazing. Help me get going with Adobe Audition setup. Yeah, George has been doing this. He's been specializing in studios for voice actors for 20 years, maybe. It's been a long time. He's done a lot of people's studios. He's helped me with mine at various times. So he's a good choice to go to. And Robin Armstrong saying, hey, Brian Robinson, which is why they sometimes get recast with our people. Absolutely. I have been in a number of sessions for video games where they hired somebody, they loved his voice, and a lot of times it's two different entities that are deciding on who gets hired. You have a production company that's actually working with the actor, and you have the producer of the game that may be listening to the auditions and going, oh, God, we love that guy. Oh, that's a great audition. Well, maybe they don't know what the pool of actors is, and they hire somebody that's new and spend some time, Frankensteining their demo together in such a way that it sounds great. Maybe I was talking about this earlier. Maybe the music and the effects make it sound just wonderful, like you've heard this person on a number of games, but then they get in the booth and they can't deliver. And you've got to be able to deliver now. Part of acting is not just making the decisions, but being able to adjust now. Sometimes you have thought this line meant this. The director tells you, no, it means another thing. Now you have to give them to. And sometimes, we're artists, but we're also technicians. Sometimes we just need a little faster, a little quieter, a little louder. All right. Okay, now everybody's just saying hello to each other here. We just meet and have friends. Jean-Francois Donaldson, what's going on? Chris Kane McAlpin. Jeff Burns, you want it to be collaborative experience when producing a demo? Absolutely. And once again, one of the things I like is people chiming in with good information. And that's really what I'm saying. You want a good producer so your sound is right. They have a good idea of what this particular market, whether you're doing commercials, TV promos, a good idea of what that market is, a good idea, too, of hearing your voice, hearing what your read is, helping you find the right copy. Now, should they pick it all? Not necessarily, unless you really trust them and you feel good about the copy they're picking. Okay. Storm, what's going on? David Mulligan. Hey, Dave, hope all is going well. Yes, it is. Mary Claire working on her demo right now. Jeff Burns, here's a question. How do you feel about classes where you have to audition to get in the class? For the person who's teaching, that may be a really good idea. If you have to audition to get in the class and you are really looking for a particular level of talent, it's probably a good idea. I have been putting together a class now for on-camera actors. And basically what I want are people who have been doing on-camera or stage work on television, movies, want to do games, but they haven't been booking on their auditions and they want to know why. And it's a different medium. It's the same thing. Acting is acting is acting. But some of your tools are taken away from you if you've been on camera when you're just going to the studio and it's words on a page and a microphone and a director in a booth. Just like, I do some on camera, very little, but I'm not going to be as comfortable on camera as I am behind a microphone. Why? Because I don't do it as much. All right. Bruce D. Richardson. Hey, Dave, maybe not your thing, but is audiobooks ACX really just $200 per finished hour? That's like $40-$50 an hour per half hour, which is that, yeah. Yeah, and I think 200 is, you're kind of pushing it up there. Not that I do a lot of audiobooks, and somebody who does a lot of audiobooks might chime in with an answer here, but I think the prices as you get into the business of audiobooks starts lower. Now it can go higher. If you're one of those people who does them all the time and is a known entity, yes, you're going to command more money. But it's a lot of work for not a lot of money, because when they say per finished hour, which he wrote there, thank you, Bruce, 200 per finished hour, PFH, it's going to take you 2, if you're very good, 3, 4, 5, if you're having a lot of problems with that book or have to do a lot of research, find out how to pronounce this, and there's lots of different characters with lots of different accents, and it can take you up to 5 hours to finish 1 hour on an audio book. So that $200 per finished hour now is a lot less in what you actually worked. Logan Christian Leonard, I think that's kind of lame, having to be good enough to learn to be good. Huh? Wait a minute. I think that's kind of lame, having to be good enough to learn to be good. Is that something I said? It might have been. Andre, got a great background today. Oh, tell us where it came from. Oh, as I mentioned this before, you must have come in late. This is my new banner for going to conventions, pop conventions. I got this ready. I have an older banner that one is kind of the plastic thing. You got to roll it up and put it in a tube. And two, I only have a few characters on it, and it's old. So I've done a lot more characters in the last, I think, 5 years since I had that thing made. So I wanted to add a lot more of those characters. I have characters. I have the director from Fortnite on there, and a lot of different characters that I played. Can't remember all their names. Let's see. Got to summon Scott Brick for all things audiobooks. Absolutely. Scott Brick is one of the premier audiobook narrators. He's been doing it for a long time. He's a guy that can command that. And if you are interested in audiobooks and you want to take a class with somebody, Scott Brick is somebody you should talk to. I have a bottle of wine back there. It's manuscript wine. He signed the bottle for me. Oh. And it's the second one because the first time I had it sitting someplace where somebody else might see it. They got it, opened it, drank it during a party, and I was like, no, you weren't supposed to do that. Okay. So do you think an on-camera acting class will help with voiceover? Yes, and vice versa. One of the things about an on-acting camera class, because you have memorized the script, one of the biggest problems we have in voiceover is the actual reading and making the reading sound real. So when you have been memorizing a script, now it's in your head. You're not so much, shouldn't be, worried about, what's the line? Every now and then you forget something, but you've rehearsed enough, you practiced enough, it's just part of you. So you can worry about those other things. What's my motivation? Where do I step over here? Do I put the glass down here? And so forth and so on. A lot of little things there that you have to remember in acting that are technical beyond just being in the character. If you're shooting on camera and you're drinking that water from your right hand, you can't go to another take and put it in your left hand. You'll drive the continuity people crazy. You've got to hit your mark, say your line. You've got to cross the right way. All those kinds of things that you have to remember, which for somebody who's not doing it a lot, you have to take a little time, make sure those are things that you would think about that aren't just coming naturally to you because you're not doing it all the time. Well, the same thing in reverse when somebody who's on camera comes to the mic for video games, and now they've got to read, and the first time they're seeing the script is when they're performing it. So not only, are you reading it, but it's new and fresh. And it's a particular kind of skill that you have to have. And sometimes the process on camera for you doesn't match the process you need for video games with a microphone. All right. Bruce, Jeff will summon. Thanks. All right. Okay, not sure what that would say. Bianca, will you be going to Delta HCon? I don't know when it is. I don't know where it is. At this point, no. Unless somebody asks me every now and then, you'll get a late request, like, a month or so before. That would be kind of late. Jean-Francois. To touch on auditioning for a class, we take ACT and SAT to get into college. It's just like you can't take Algebra 2 without learning Algebra 1. You need to know the basics to be able to take an advanced style class. I agree. Typically in my classes, I don't insist that you audition. I prefer you to have had some experience in voiceover at least. But I'm not going to turn away somebody new because I feel that they're going to learn something. They're going to learn a lot. They may not be able to access it and use it as fast, but they'll be getting a good base for what they need to do. And they're getting started on the right foot as opposed to flailing by themselves and doing things wrong. So many people who are jumping into voiceover, they don't really have an idea what it really is. They know that, okay, it's a microphone, it's my voice, it's copy, I'm saying these things, but beyond that, they don't get it. And maybe they're thinking, yeah, I can make a lot of money in voiceover. God, I'm lazy, and this is a great way to make money. And the lazy person is not going to make it in voiceover because the work is actually getting the work. Let's see, Jeff Burns. At the same time, there's also learning by osmosis. And in a good class, you'll get to learn from your peers. And in a great class, everyone will rise together. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, thank you, Jeff. You led me to my next thought, which is I suggest to people before you take any private lessons with anybody, take a class. And even before that, go to my YouTube channel, Dave Fennoy, voiceover training or Dave Fennoy training. Go to the free sites of lots of different people. Watch, listen, take it in. Become familiar with the terms and what the different teachers are talking about and how they are very similar in what they're saying and what their teaching styles are, so that when you do take that class, when you are spending money, your brain's not going, oh, what's he talking about? I don't understand. I need to. You already have a good foundation of what it's about. Also, what you're trying to, this is not a competition. What you're trying to do is move your bar forward. And sometimes being able to watch and hear what another actor is doing will give you a lot of understanding in what you need to do. And you can learn from their successes and mistakes without the pressure of standing in front of that class. It can be very intimidating sometimes when you're standing at the microphone and you got a class of 10 or 15 people watching you do your thing, and the thing you want to do more than anything else is to be really good. You want to come in there and blow the teacher away and blow your classmates away, and you want everybody to go, wow, that was really good. And that happens so infrequently. But you got to remind yourself, you came to a class to learn. Yeah, you want to be good, you want to be recognized, you want some validation. But what you really want to do is to get better. And we only get better by trying, failing, improving. And so I like to tell people, if you're taking a class, you're taking my class, don't come in and be nervous. You don't have to be nervous around me. I'm on your side. I'm there to help you. Yes, I am going to judge you. I'm going to tell you some things you're doing right and some things you're doing wrong. But it's all with the idea of helping you become a better voice actor. And any other class you're in should be the same thing. In voiceover workout groups, which I haven't been to mine in a while because I've just been too busy, one of the things we have to do now is be our own director. Very rarely do you get to go into your agent's office and walk into the booth and have the booth director give you feedback on what you did. The feedback comes when you book it or didn't book it, or get on a veil or didn't get on a veil. And just because you're on a veil doesn't mean you're going to book it, but if you're on a veil from time to time, lets you know you're doing something right. We have to become our own directors, which means we have to become objective about ourselves. Is this a good read? Is it not a good read? And I tell people this all the time. The question to ask is not, wow, does that sound good? No, the question is, do I believe this character? Do I believe this person? And that's across the board. I'm talking commercials, narration, video games, cartoons, TV promos, whatever. Do you believe the performance? It's not just, wow, is that a wonderful voice or not? As a matter of fact, stop asking yourself that question. Stop leaning into the pretty part of your voice. Lean into, who is this character? What's their worldview? And once again, that's commercials, that's TV promos, that's narration, that's video games, that's cartoons, that's across the board. Mark Preston, what's going on, man? I always know when I get a Facebook post from you, it's going to be interesting. Janet Peters, how you doing? Erlene Kelly, what's happening? Bob, how you doing? John Taylor? John, I haven't seen you in a long time, man. Holla sometime. Postman, and thank you, Postman. I got that thing with you and Otis. I didn't respond. I was just in the middle of something, then I forgot, but loved it. Christy Sproul. Kathy, how you doing? Jeff Burns, I should take your class at some point. Yes, you should. Planning to do one in October. Haven't picked the date yet. I think I know the place, but more on that in early September. Storm Waters, I'm definitely going to book some more sessions with you this year. Good to hear it. Steve Tardio, how you doing? And Luc de Villars. I've worked on a big video game recently, tagging along with 2 big national movie stars here. Well, they kind of acted like they don't have to take it seriously, and the director was not as hard as he is on us, even if their takes were not that good. It's kind of tough when the director says, don't mind them, just do your job. If we're on the same boat, it doesn't always feel like it. Was it always like that, even in the USA? Well, when the video game industry started, there weren't that many actors doing the jobs. In some of the big games, I was very fortunate. I was in Los Angeles in the 90s when games really started using voices, and I was a voice on some of the bigger games, World of Warcraft and StarCraft, and some of the Lucasfilm games for Star Wars. But some of the gaming companies who may not have been based here, or even some that were, they didn't have the money as they were getting going to hire good actors. And sometimes the voice acting was secondary to everything else. So, they needed an older guy. Hey, Charlie, your dad's retired, right? Has you got some time? You could come in. They needed a woman's voice. The secretary's going to lunch. You think she'd mind coming in and voicing some stuff? And this is without knowing whether these people can act or not. So if you go back, I tell you what, Google bad voice acting in video games. Just Google that and listen to some of the trash that you heard in the 90s and early 2000s. Well, as the games have gotten better, we're talking about the graphics are better. The sound is better. The people writing, the writing is better. Everything is better. Well, the acting had to get better too. Now, one of the things you're talking about, Luke, is that a lot of, celebrity actors that people would want in their game so they can say so-and-so's in the game, just like they can say so-and-so's in the cartoon, don't respect the art. They don't think of video games as something important. The stage actor thinks being on stage is important. The TV actor thinks being on television is important. The movie actor, this is important. Well, you have to take whatever you're doing. If somebody's paying you to do something, take it seriously. I've heard a lot of complaints about celebrities in video games who show up late, or they show up, it's supposed to be in a 4-hour session, they want to leave after an hour. They don't want to do the shouting that is required. They phone it in. I mean, they're there, but they're not really bringing the performances because they don't take it that seriously. So some manager, some agent, said, no, you really need to do this. It's going to be a big game. It's going to be good for you. But they're not into it. So yeah, that does happen. And I hear the stories. So you want to keep working? You want to be working in video games? Bring it. Bring it. Be good. Nadia, how you doing? Clinton, what's going on, man? Tim Bamba, acting classes. Yes, take one that speaks to you. As a sports announcer, I started working with a theatrical voice and acting teacher. After a few sessions, my delivery on mic at games and races improved noticeably. I'd be interested to know what you thought improved, Tim. Uh, Here's what I suspect. I suspect that you had a voice that kind of had the sound of what we think of as a sports announcer, um, and you were trying to give them that voice. After taking some acting classes, you thought less about that voice and more about what you were saying and how you felt about it. Am I right? Let me know. Dahlia Ramahi. Hello, Dahlia. How you doing? Wow, it's 6:40. I don't have another question here. Did I miss anybody? Anything? Some good questions today. Uh, I would be remiss if I didn't promote myself again. If you want to do private lessons, you can go to my website, davefennoy.com. Why do I always forget that part? Go to davefennoy.com. You can click on the Study VO tab and book yourself. I don't know how all the other teachers do it. I know some, if you, for some reason, you get a job or something, you have to cancel. You have to pay for that because you booked the time, my time is valuable. I never do that to you because I'm a working voice actor and stuff comes up at the last minute. And a lot of times I have to go, hey, listen, can we do this tomorrow or an hour from now or whatever? So I never do that to you. I do work in all the genres. I love doing the video game thing because I love doing video games, but I actually love it all. So if you'd like to book yourself, feel free. There'll be more information on a workshop I'm going to do in Los Angeles in October coming. In a couple of weeks, tentatively on the 4th of September. That's a Wednesday, isn't it? I'm going to have a guest in, and we're going to talk about auditions and what we're doing right and what we are doing wrong. Valentina, what's going on? Sloan Warren, how you doing? One other thing. I work a lot with people who came out of the same kind of background that I did. I spent a lot of years on radio. And when you spend those years on radio, you begin to develop this thing where everything has this other polish, that yucky sound, and it's a really hard habit to break, and it can be painful for guys coming out of radio to lose it. But I work with a lot of them, and even if you're not working on radio, sometimes you don't really know what you sound like when you are just being you. And I've given this tip before, I'm going to give it again. Sometimes when you're at home talking with your friends, talking with your family, just kicking it, turn on your recorder on your phone. Let it play for, 15 minutes, half an hour if you like. Go back and listen to what you sound like when you're just being you. When you don't have some copy in front of you with words you're trying to make dance. You're not trying to make the words dance when you're just being you. You feel a certain way. You say what you say. You want to bring as much of that as you can to all your voiceover work. We spend way too much time worried about the words doing voiceover because that seems to be what's in front of us. You're going to go a lot further playing the thoughts and feelings of the character you're playing. And when I say that, I'm not talking about just video games or cartoon. When you're in a commercial, who are you? You may be the spokesverse. Well, who is that person? What's that person's worldview? Who's that person talking to? How do they feel about the thing that they're talking about? Who they're talking to? Sometimes you're playing a character. You can't bring that character to life by making the words dance and doing the sing-song. Nobody believes that. Nobody believes that. Play the character. And a lot of times the character you're playing is you. And I think, unless we have another question, or I'm scrolling back, seeing if I missed something, I don't think I did. Let me say thank you to a lot of you who joined in the conversation beyond the questions. Specifically, Jeff Burns, much appreciated, man. Much appreciated. And a few other people, Ellen Dubbin, who stopped in, Logan. Gary Scales, I didn't see this. So do you think? Oh, yeah, I did see that. Well, good enough. Good enough. Unless we have more to do, I'm going to call it an evening. I'm going to fold up my. I'm going to show you. I'm going to let it roll for a little bit while I fold this up so you can see how. Mark Seltzer. Hey, man. Is it better to? Where it popped up? Is it better to interview you on your show? That'd be hella fun. Seems like you got a lot. Great thing going. Miss you, dude. Oh, Mark. Good guy. Really good guy. Taking improv and now coaching. Okay, improv's great to do for voiceover. Hey, Janessa, how you doing? Say hello to New Orleans for me when you get down there. But for those of you who are going to be doing conventions and you've got that banner and you got to put it in that tube, let me show you how easy this is. I would work. Put it up with that. Clamps, but it's kind of like pulling up fold it up, pulling it up, not in, fold it up. There. And it's light. It's light. I can just stick that in my suitcase and go. Love it. Anyway, that's it for Ask Dave Fennoy. Anything today, this Wednesday, and I will see you next Wednesday. All the best.